this remit. Does everybody know what a remit is? A job, a task, an ask. We've been asked to get involved in creating a piece of work which will go into schools, which is looking at antisocial behaviour with young people and looking at the idea that they will be more aware, more conscious, more accountable for their own behaviours, starting to make different choices.
My name is Hazel Sim. I'm head teacher here at Cleves Primary School. Our children have been really fortunate to work as part of the programme for the past few weeks. I think it's really crucial that we target our children in primary school to try and get in ahead of as a prevention rather than cure for antisocial behaviour. You know, so many pressures on our young people today that when they get older they need to have the skills and the tools to try and support them to make the right choices and not react to situations but actually to prevent them happening in the first place. And I think it's been a really good opportunity for our school to be part and involved in.
We obviously wanted to tackle the issue of antisocial behaviour within the community, but looking at it not just from the young persons but from the community's point of view and get their views on how it impacts on their community and how it impacts on them. We looked at different elements. We looked at a community programme, we looked at a universal programme for children in primary 7, so all primary 7s in the free schools got some input. Then we looked at a targeted programme, and that was for young people that the school had identified that were perhaps more at risk of engaging in antisocial behaviour. So I think by looking at antisocial behaviour more holistically and looking at all the different elements rather than just going in a targeted approach and picking a group of young people and thinking, well, they're going to be the next. So we were able to look more holistically at the issue and look at it as a community issue and look at community solutions to that. We gave young people a voice. And we've also showed them how they can engage in their community and how they can make a difference in their community. So hopefully that's something they'll take on in later life and be more willing and engaging within their community to maybe attend meetings and go to things and have their say when they get opportunities as they grow older, that they'll remember that and that the difference that they made. We can then design a lesson plan or a curriculum pack that goes round about that, and that can be left behind in schools so that the project can continue beyond year 3, but also beyond Priesthill and Hazelwood. There's nothing to say that that can be rolled out throughout Glasgow nationally even, because the lessons and the material that we've developed as part of this initiative can be used wider.
I've just been sitting in kind of at the back and kind of keeping half an ear on it. I think it's really engaging. I think that there are children who aren't necessarily the first to kind of put their hand up in class who have been really engaged with the sessions. It's been great to see them getting involved and getting interested and getting kind of enthusiastic about some of the ideas. I'm hoping that the conversations that are starting are things that will stay with the children and that will hopefully maybe come back to them a wee bit later. Obviously they're primary 7s, they're starting that transition towards secondary school where some of the challenges are going to be that much greater. They'll be exposed to kind of new ideas, new situations. So hopefully some of the kind of ideas or the questions that they're investigating now might help them to negotiate some of those new situations. I'm also seeing a lot of transferable skills. There are a lot of literacy skills in terms of their talking and listening, even thinking about things like scripts and how we record ideas, note-taking, which are all very relevant. There's been one child in particular who is usually very quiet and quite introverted, who has really come out for himself during the sessions, which is just fantastic to see.
So my name is Mark McNichol and I am the project director of a charity called the Creative Change Collective.
I'm Anthony Morrow. I'm the Community Connector Manager for Sanctuary Scotland Housing, primarily based in Priesthill but manage staff around most of the central belt to the Cumbernauld and Tory Glen as well. I was a community worker here for a number of years, so I've been working in Priesthill for about 7 years or so now.
Coming from this area, you know, I was brought up in Priesthill and South Nits Hill, and I've still got family here, and I can't remember exactly when it was, it would have been, you know, a few years ago. I remember there was quite a lot of bad press. The area, you know, there was some things happened in the area, and it was in the, you know, I can't remember if it was like national press or local press, but there was definitely kind of a lot of negative press coverage round about incidents, in particular young people, antisocial behaviour, etc. So I contacted Sanctuary to ask if they would be interested in just having a general chat and looking at the type of work that we did. You had the idea that rather than, you know, most of the work that's done in this area is reactive to the situation, but your idea, which was very interesting, I'd never really heard it before, was the idea of maybe doing something that's proactive and shifting the focus from the problem age group to the younger age group in primary schools, on the basis that if we can have an impact on them, if we can touch them in a way that they are less likely to go down that road, then it would be a pilot, and it would be something that's innovative and something that, to my knowledge, is not really going on anywhere else in Scotland.
I mean, the interesting thing for me, first and foremost, is that, so you're from Priest Hill, so like the experience, the lived experience of local people is integral to any of the work that we do. So whenever it was funny because that actually came up later in the conversation. So we talked about the potential for work and the potential for things that could be done. But it was rooted, I think initially you talked, your mum still lives locally, and we chatted about that. And I think that to me is key, the experience of the people that live here. I think often that's lost. And more so than anything else, the experience of the young people that live here is lost. And so that was what I was interested in trying to figure out with you guys. Like, all over Scotland, all over the UK, probably all over the world, you hear stuff about young people cause issues. Very often the response to that is a reactive one. Let's put on activities for them, let's get them out of the way, kind of thing, you know, diversionary youth work. I've done it myself, like, and I loved it, and it definitely has a place. But I don't think that antisocial behaviour happens just cause. It happens because there's a disconnect, because there's a feeling from young people that they are pushed to the edge, or they don't belong, or they don't have these key relationships with people. Like, you don't go and cause antisocial behaviour in the street to somebody that you care about. So that to me was a fundamental thing that was not being addressed by the stuff that was previously done here and previously done in lots of other places. We needed to find a way that connected young people back into their neighbourhood and back into the community that they felt they weren't part of. So that to me is the interesting part of this, that you can't just deal with the young people, it's a community issue, and the more you address that community issue of antisocial behaviour, I think the more likely you are to come to a successful conclusion, or at least improve things for people.
Yeah, and I suppose it is, in some respects, a can of worms and a complicated issue.
Yeah.
If you take the G53 postcode, which obviously has always ranked high on the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation, and if you were to compare G53 to, off the top of my head, G74, a kind of Newton Mearns type postcode, ultimately, I'm not an expert, but I would imagine they have less of these challenges in more affluent areas.
I presume so. Like, I don't know because I don't work in those areas, but like what I do know is that it was predominant here. There was a lot of youth disorder, and over a number of years, so I've worked here for 7 years, there was 3 or 4 years where it was high on the agenda. You know, the police were really involved in it. There was problems with the fire service, there was high school issues, problems at Silverburn. It was like, it was a real issue, and I'm not saying that it never was a real issue. Like, it definitely was. But I think, again, the problem isn't that it ranks high on the SIMD. That to me is information. It's information that you need to consider, and it's information that you need to be aware of and use. But I think too often the young people here, or the communities here, are defined by that information. And you're a case in point, Mark. You know, like you aren't your postcode, you aren't what's happened here, and that's what all of the adverse childhood experiences and trauma work says, you know, and we know more about this now, so it'd be remiss of us not to think more widely about this. people aren't what's happened to them, and they're not the place that they're from. They have skills, aspirations and gifts, and I think that the young people here are a majorly untapped resource in Priest Hill, Houserwood and Nitshill. I think that is something that this can potentially unlock a little bit of that was previously missing. Like, I think there were a problem to be solved previously. I saw a lot of the work in the addressing youth disorder as a problem to be solved, something to be fixed. It's not our job to fix people. Your job in life is not to fix somebody. It's to give them opportunities that they don't have. And I think that's where the work with you guys really, you know, it could be massive. It could really change lives for folk, because you're giving people a chance that they ordinarily wouldn't get.
I'm working with CCC on The Butterfly and the Storm, and I've just been to see a Pat Knieven play, which was quite spectacular, amazing. Coming from a physical theatre background with visual theatre and movement and things like that, it was great to see. He used all of the tricks in the book to get to all the senses. He's a fantastic actor. Yeah, I think there's a lot of inspiration that can be taken from plays like this, but it's not just about the text on its own, two people standing talking to each other, but there are visual aspects, and there's a poetry in both the text and in the visuals that you watch, you get to see. So it was a pleasure to watch Pat's play, and I'm excited to get working and experimenting on a play for children to watch with some physical theatre in it.
Very early on in the conversations with Anthony at Sanctuary Housing, he was keen on the idea of local residents and also pupils from the focus schools that we worked with originally in the area to be given the opportunity to speak about, you know, their thoughts and feelings and lived experience round about the theme of antisocial behaviour. A secondary benefit to me as the playwright of the script was it gave me the opportunity to explore opportunities to inject authenticity, because from a writing perspective, it doesn't matter what the medium is, whether it's novels, television, film or theatre, one of the most important things is that the characters and the story world is authentic. I once heard somebody describe it as the irony of good fiction is that in order for it to work, it has to be real.
Betty, we know it's Lex. You came, I knew you would, but then there's something not right. That can visually be communicated to the audience. That, you know, you stiffening or you know, some kind of physical reaction can easily be communicated to the audience. In fact, what's wrong? Verbally, what's wrong?
So it was great for me because I was able to take the content that came out of those sessions, and I was able to, you know, meet with the delivery teams, and I was able to scan through all of the kind of feedback and explore opportunities in terms of bringing them into the characters and the story world. For me, one of the big things that came out of it, which was a revelation to me, was this idea of, yes, you know, some young people are grounded by their parent or carer because of behaviour, but some of the young people in the sessions were talking about self-grounding and this idea of being worried, concerned, apprehensive about having problems and staying home as a result of that, because that's their safe place. And to me, that was a revelation, because when I was growing up, I don't remember being aware of anyone in my, you know, circle staying home and self-grounding themselves.
In a jar, tiny and bright, a little caterpillar starts its fight. Very slowly it slides and creeps, dreams of flying while it sleeps.
Should I say my last name? Is that weird? Did you say your last name?
I didn't, but
You did you? Okay. You said your full name, okay. Hello, my name is Osset Andries. I'm playing the character Leo. Leo is represented by the butterfly in the piece. She's a bit softer and expresses herself in more quiet ways than other kids might. And sometimes this seems like someone has less personality or less energy or less sort of spunk, but actually she has a lot in her. And I think by the end that awakens a bit more because I think quiet people tend to not take up as much space, and she sort of learns how to take up space by the end.
What do you want? They are my family! Nana died, and you moved away, and then my mum and dad split up. So did mine. That's why we moved back. Oh, come on, your life is perfect. Really, you think I don't have just as much?
Hello, I'm Jillian and I play Lex in Butterflies and Storms. Lex is the older of the two cousins and she represents the storm. She really has a tough time of it, dealing with her emotions, and struggles to express herself in the ways that most adults would find easy, or that children who have a nice home life and the space to be truly themselves find easier. So yeah, she really struggles with that and she can lash out, and yeah, that's Lex.
It's been a lot more goofy than I thought, given that it's about antisocial behavior, which I think is a good thing, because I think finding joy and energy in anything, in any piece, that's what connects you to your audience. So yeah, finding all of the humor and movement and fun in it, I think helps us then lead to a more serious point and really leave people with something meaningful, because we've also cultivated a lot of joy and fun in it. So that has been really a pleasure.
I would love if the young people connected to the play, whether that be watching Lex or watching Leo. I would just love it if they were able to not necessarily even see themselves in the characters, but connect with the piece and think, do you know what, I've actually been in that position, I've felt exactly that way before. And if it reflects back on them and ask the question, how can I don't know, how can I be a better person? How can I grow? Yeah.
Like, Joe, how would you feel? Yeah. Like this. You're having a little moment with yourself, because you're like, the seeds. Sorry, I'm not saying words. No. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to. I understand. Yeah.
The actors have been great. They've been really fun to work with. The script has been really fun to work with as well. There's been lots that we've managed to take from it ourselves, I think. We've had lots of great discussions about change and about our own childhood and how that has affected how we are as people now. So hopefully we've managed to input some of that and for the kids to then think about it as well.
Hi everyone, I just got into the car. It is the morning of our first show and I am on my way to pick up Osset. So let's go. Okay, day one, got our bags. And this is our lovely set. Everything, just one trip, right? Yep, just one trip. Hey guys, we just finished a 2-show day and we're really happy. It went really well.
It went so well.
Yeah.
Talked to so many kids.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yesterday was amazing. The kids were so much fun. So we're on to school. Is it 5? School 5 today.
School 5 today. Yeah.
Hi everyone. We just made it to the Kibble Center today. Yeah, we get to meet everyone here. Let's do it.
Everything that was in the play, the characters and what they were talking about was really relevant to the children in my class. It didn't seem like it had been written by adults to try and you know, seem trendy. It would seem very, very engaging, which is why not one of my children spoke the whole way through, including children that really have a problem focusing. They really, really enjoyed the characters, and I think you could see that from the hot seat, in which they really enjoyed. They got a chance to ask questions and clarify what happened in the story, and I think they just really, really enjoyed that. I think that's something that would really stick in their brains for a while.
I thought the show was excellent. It was very relevant to what the children have been doing this week, because we've been talking a lot about anti-bullying, so a lot of the themes and subject matters were very relevant, and the children thoroughly enjoyed it. They got an awful lot from the experience, and it was definitely worthwhile, and I would thoroughly recommend it.
The idea of provoking discussion and debate, you know, even talking about antisocial behaviour, you speak to 10 different adults, you speak to 10 different young people, what is antisocial behaviour? You might get 20 different answers, but as a general definition, if we can agree that it's something that has a negative impact on our community, having that conversation and having that debate with young people is invaluable, very, very important. It's not a silver bullet. I'm not naive, but I would hope that at least some of the young people who encounter the play and the project have a think about their actions and their behaviours, and maybe in the future might think twice before they get involved in certain situations or handle things in a certain way. And hopefully they can relate to these characters. Hopefully they can relate to these characters, and even the elderly neighbour, for example. Most of the young people watching this have got, you know, grandparents and aunties and uncles, etc. So if they can get a sense of people who are negatively impacted by their behaviour, it's somebody's gran, you know, it's somebody's grandfather. Just like you've got a gran and you've got a grandfather. If they feel that sense of connection, then hopefully they might think, you know, they might think more about the consequences of their actions. And over and above that, from a, you know, as someone who comes from G53, and when I grew up I had no relationship with the theatre. None of my friends, none of my family, none of my neighbours had any relationship with the theatre, and arguably that's still the case today. And it's a very, you know, the whole area of inclusion is a very complex area, but for me, giving young people the opportunity to, if you take aside the antisocial behaviour theme, giving them the opportunity to engage with the medium of theatre and movement, and the idea of, in the future, perhaps some of these young people will be actors and playwrights and directors and set and costume designers and techs, filmmakers, etc. I think that's very exciting, and arguably even more important, some of these young people in the future might be audience members, because it's not just about finding the practitioners of tomorrow for theatre, it's also about finding the audience members of tomorrow.